This course mostly I have included the major reports only, the which are most commonly used in every hotel. There may be some extra which we may be using, which are not covered in this particular course. So if you have anything, you can ask me. Okay. So, as we know, the income audit is mainly responsible for recording the revenues and settlements. So, settlements are done at the front office or FNB, and then PMS, and then the revenues recorded in the PMS as per the reservation or as per the checks, the POS checks. So what does income audit do basically in recording? So that's what we are going to discuss in this course. And their job is basically to ensure that it's correct and complete. So both are required. Completeness of the transactions to make sure that every single transaction that happens on the property is recorded, even if it's void or any rebate or everything, and also that is correct means that it's correct into the correct account head. Rebates are posted into correct account head. Most of these things are taken care by the POS already, because when you do the setup, we have already identified the chart of accounts of which one we are going to use, how the revenue will be distributed. But there are still sometimes errors on the market segmentation, on the way the revenue has been calculated for, especially for outside guests, in-house guests, and also between the food and beverage. So sometimes there are mistakes. Income audit is supposed to check them and correct if there is any mistake on that part. And then it will also check to ensure that all rebates and discounts are authorized, because in hospitality we have a lot of rebates, and we give a lot of discounts as well, to the guests for guest complaints or everything else. So their job is to basically make sure that they are all authorized as per the delegation of authority. So they are not ideally questioning the validity of rebates if it's authorized as per DOA, but they still can raise if they see that even if there is any rebate which is unreasonable, but still within the delegation of authority. So they cannot question it, but they can raise the point of validity of that rebate or discount being given if they feel there was no sufficient reason for it, even though it may be within the delegation of authority. Then they are also supposed to report and monitor the unusual transactions and approvals on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So that's again part of their job, right? Not only the checking, but also monitoring and reporting, and then advise the operation and HR on the errors and train the staff to improve. And sometimes they have to do the training by themselves. So, for example, cashiering, how to post the correct transactions, how to close the cashier correctly. If there are mistakes happening in the system because of those wrong processes by the staff, so they have to train them, and they have to make sure that they are trained by third parties if it's required, or by HR on certain aspects of the processes. And then also they also create generate management information systems. So they have to create the revenue segmentation reports, rebates, discount, void review. uh, Promotion performance means that if there is any event, they have to generate the P&L at least for that event separately, so that chief accountant can take the revenue and calculate the expenses separately. So, as a chief accountant or as a expert of the hotel finance, you need to be very clear on what information you are going to get from the income audit, and what can you expect from them, and how you are going to use them in your financial reporting. So, if let's say there are revenue segmentation, revenue segmentation is already generated by the by the PMS, and it's mostly the responsibility of the revenue management function to make sure that is correct. But since there are rebates, there are discounts, there are maybe wrong transactions, wrong rates, that happens most of the time, many of the times, and they are need to be adjusted back into the revenue. And you cannot go and change the PMS. You cannot post the rebates by segment. You have to post as a rebate, right? So when they prepare in the financial statement, they have to adjust based on what segment the mistake was happening. Since usually requires allowances to be recorded separately, but errors need to be adjusted back to the revenue from which segment it was coming. If it's a wrong rate, if it's a wrong charge, that has to be adjusted back to the segmentation. So they have to the income audit has to finalize that segmentation, and then they will send it back to the revenue department or market market managers, so that they can understand what is the realistic what is the real segmentation, and calculate the incentives and everything else. The revenue segmentation reports from generated from the PMS are indicative. They are not exactly matching with the revenues which are coming in the P&L, or they may not be even recovered, right? So that's the problem with the standard PMS reports. Is that correct, right? Am I right in saying this? Or there are nowadays PMS are smart enough?
So your voice is breaking up. It's breaking up a lot. Maybe it's at my end the problem. I don't know, but I could not hear the last part.
Oh, okay. And Venki, what is the situation with your part? Is it breaking?
No, it's clear, sir.
Oh,
But
so
And then
the
it's
presentation I cannot see.
oh, presentation you have to pin
No,
my
no,
ah
I have pinned, sir, but the visual is blur.
oh, it means that the
My
network connections are actually either slow, and that's why it's coming blur. The video may be coming blur
Yeah,
because of that.
I think so. My network is very low, sir.
yes, it's blur for me as well.
Ah,
It's blur for me as well.
so it means that
But that's our internet speed problem on our end.
I guess maybe. Or let me try to open the door of my room. Maybe it's my end also. So, but let's see. Is that has anything improved now? The picture is coming properly or still not?
Still same, sir.
The same. Let me try this way. Let me try another way. I will share the PowerPoint slide. Ah, is that now okay? Does it make better? I close the window and then I share the
Yeah.
screen. Does it make it better?
Still not appearing.
Yes, it's perfect. For
Now,
me, it's perfectly clear now.
now is it's the another screen. Venki is not my profile. Is not the video now. Is the another screen sharing. So you may need to spin the other one.
Okay, sir, but I missed your question. What was your question actually? I'm
No,
sorry.
my question was that
Now it is fine. Now it is fine.
when I was saying that the general management, the revenue segmentation coming from the PMS is not entirely correct, and it doesn't match with the standard profit and loss statement because of the adjustments that are needed to be made into the individual market segments. And income audit is the generally the one who is making those adjustments. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Generally, whenever the adjustment pass in PM folios, front office at times forget to give uh, assign a correct market segment to the adjustments. Manual adjustment. Whenever there is a manual adjustment, yeah, that is one of the reason it's not accurate.
Hmm. Yes, so means that I mean you can rely on the PMS the revenue segmentation generated from the PMS for making the broad decisions on marketing and sales, but they are not useful for calculating the revenue or calculating the incentives, and those are not really the correct reports. So you have to rely on the market segmentation which are generated by the or finalized by the income audit department. That's a very important aspect of the income audit job. Um, yes, so that's the thing. Then let us go into the individual reports. Just quickly on the qualities of income auditors that needed. They need analytical skills to identify unusual transactions, because many times, um, by looking at the paper only, you are not able to understand if there is anything going wrong. So by having an analytical mindset, they can understand the trends and what are the variants from the last month or last year, so that they can try to see if there is any mistake, and they can go and double check. So basically to diagnose if there is any problem in the overall data. So that's the analytical skills that they need. Then they also need details, right? Eye for details means, once they analyze the bigger problems, then they need to go back into the details, because they are going to review the rebate, they are going to review the folio, they are going to review the void, they are going to review the check. So for that need very detailed review. So it's even seconds or the minutes when the check is posted and is closed is going to make a difference, right? And the cash posting into the system makes a difference. So they have to be very detail oriented. They have to check each and everything into details. And then they should be curious to know what's wrong, why is it having a problem, why is that a problem, and how we can fix it for future repetition. So that's a very important quality for being a good income auditor. Curiosity, dig into the deep root causes, so that not only you can fix the problem for the future, but also save your own life in checking them again, right? Because the more mistakes you have, the more work income audit also have to do. Then the training skills. So they have to be good trainer as well, because they are supposed to train the cashiers, operational departments on how they should use the POS or the PMS. And many times in my experience, whenever there is a problem with the cashiers, there problem with the operational front office department, they call back the income audit and ask, how do I do this? Right? Instead of asking the IT, because IT know only the technical stuff, they don't know the operational part of it. So income auditor has to be very hands-on the training skills. Then understanding the of revenue reporting requirements means they need to be very well versed with the IFRS requirements, and also the gap, so that they know how they are going to record. For example, when we started to do the revenue, we were not recording the barter transactions, even though the gap, the general accounting practices requires barter transactions to be recorded as a revenue and as an expense. Uh, the income audit was not doing that, because they don't know the financial reporting standards, right? So that's an important part. If they don't know the 100% of accounting, that's fine, but they need to know at least the revenue recognition standards. So the hotels need to train their income audit team at least on revenue recognizing standards. That's an important aspect. And then also the local tax systems, because they are dealing with the let's say GST or VAT or commercial tax, whatever is the name of the tax, at least the value added tax, or you can say. So that is required when they have to pay. What are the requirement for registration of POS, credit cards? What are the important? So in Thailand, every POS has to be registered with the revenue department. I think in India also we have to register the the POS and the collection machines with the revenue departments, so that we can issue the official receipts. Is that correct? Venki, do you know?
No, sir. Once this GST came, I'm not aware actually.
Yeah, so maybe you can check that, but I never registered for India, so I don't know about that. But I know for Thailand and that we have to register. In Myanmar, we don't have to register anything like this. We can just go and add any type of machine or any type of POS. That's not a problem. But in Thailand, it's pretty strict, because they look at the if any commercial tax invoice is generated from the machine which is not registered with the revenue department, you have to pay the penalty, and that also will not be accepted as a input credit. That's an important aspect in understanding what are the local tax system. Then the first job that they have to do is recording and reporting of the income audit, of the revenue transaction, right? So they do it that from we call it daily report, right? We have to generate a daily revenue report for the hotel, which consists of room revenue by segment, F&B revenue by outlet, by meal period, other operating departments, and other statistics like the occupancy and the revenue rates and the walk-ins and cancellations or length of stay or all those kind of statistics which are important for the operation departments to make daily decisions, right? So that's the important thing. So these are daily reports that they have to create. One is the daily revenue report we just discussed, and another is daily cashier report, which we discussed last week in when we were discussing the cashier summary. So the cashiers are preparing the operational cashiers drop the cash into the system, into the drop box, and the general cashier prepares a daily cash report of the collections of the bank transactions, and they pass it on to the income audit to check against the system and also um, against the actual collections, right? So they have to make sure that whatever collections are posted into the system are also collected and also in the bank statement. So that's so in the cashier report, the when we saw the column of the POS, how much it should be is blank when the cashier is preparing. So cashier prepares only what is really collected from the cashier. So they even the general cashier don't know how much amount should have been collected. So that's for internal control purposes. So when the general cashier is preparing, they just know what they collected, actual, right? And then they pass it on the same report to the income audit, and the income audit fills up how much should have been collected. And if there is a difference, then they highlight it immediately to the to the concerned cashier and find out why there is a mismatch, if there is a mismatch, right? So that's the two main tasks that income audit has. Generating the daily revenue report from the system means they have to ensure that all the balances are settled out. There is a completeness of the revenue recording and collections recording. The trial balance is in sync. That we will discuss now. What is trial balance? And then the daily cashier report is also correct. Then the consistency in ADR and average rate, if is there, so they know what we know by experience. You will know what is the general ADR of the hotel by segment. So if in any segment for any day something is variance, some variances are happening, then that's a sign that maybe something is wrong. Or even if something is correct, but it just reflects something may be wrong, right? So that's the analytical part of the income audit job, which is kicking in to make sure that the revenue segmentations are correct. So it may happen that maybe let's say a government room can be mistakenly by the front office can be changed, can be recorded into the corporate, where the ADRs are quite different. So if there is no booking on the corporate that day, revenue ADR is very low for the corporate, right? So it means you need income audit when they look at the report, they need to go back and check why the ADR is very low. So that's a important thing that the income audit department has to do on a daily basis. And then there are monthly reports for officer check, entertainment summaries, complimentary house use reports, monthly service charge calculations, and revenue and segmentation reports for recording into the GL. So service charge is calculated by them, how much service charge is supposed to be distributed depending on the policy of the hotel, whether it's 15 to 15, 25 to 25, or month by or a calendar month, right? So it depends on the hotel policy, and how much should be distributed to the staff, how much should be keep in the provision. So that's an important aspect that they have to check. Complimentary house use report, if they are that is approved or not, and how much and who is generating which department is using them so that the cost of those rooms can be charged to that particular department. Officer and entertainment check for cost, meal cost allocation or the allocation from the food cost. So that report has to go to the cost control so that they can calculate then what should be the credit for food purchases towards the relevant department, and that final output will come to chief accountant for recording into the general expenses. So that so income audit basically will provide the basis of many reports, right? So that's an important aspect that they have to do. Then the basis of everything in hotels starts with the trial balance, right? Every day there is a trial balance which is generated, and it does look like this most of the time. It has two, majority is two parts. One is the revenue, which is rates, food and beverage, sales, taxes, and paid outs. And then you will have the collections part, right? So it can be the credit card, advance collections, advance taxes, collection by cash, credit card, company, staff, how many avoided, how many are planned, bill on hold, foreign exchange, and then other type of things, right? So that is important. And then after that there is a summary of all the things, and where you will see is total of 156902.156902 means the revenue and the collections has to match together. So it is important for the income auditor to make sure that this trial balance is always in sync. I mean, the total of the rates and total of the collections is always settled out, and it includes the deposit transaction, opening deposit, closing deposit, and how much has been posted as collections, because deposit once posted is also called considered as a collection, and the opening guest ledger plus the closing and the revenue and closing guest ledger. So that's all is included in the trial balance. Opera trial balance is a slightly different version from this, but the segments are remain the same, right? And then there are two columns: amount and allowance, and the net amount. So both of them has to be matching. Based on this, then the generally in hotels we record revenue on a daily basis. So means everything of this is going to be recorded in the GL on a daily basis. But many hotels they don't record on a daily. They accumulate these transactions day by day into the Excel sheet, and then only the month end part they will record into the GL, right? But that's not by internal controls is not right to record on once in a month. The reason being that, let's say you have because PMS has no control, there's no closing, right? The PMS doesn't close. The back office close, but PMS there's no ending date. You can go back and change any transaction of any day as you like, right? There's no stopping you, right? uh, so means that what the internal auditors requires is that once you post it every day into the GL, means if you go and check, if you go and change any document or any information on the back date, it will not match with the GL. So it means it will not be in sync with the GL. So that's one way to trace if there's any change in the PMS backdated, or if you have somebody has posted any rebate or other things. So that's why the by right internal auditors require the trial balance to be posted every day into the system, so that if there is any rebate, if there is any postings paid happening or adjustments happening, it's clear in the view of the GL. So that's the one thing required in the system trial balance. The another thing which is the system trial balance usually requires or does is to record these into the what do you say, contra accounts, right? So for example, the revenue room rate will be recorded in a contra account, where the segmentation will be done, because segmentation is done separately. And then the rebates will be recorded in one contra accounts, and from there it will be distributed either back to revenue or to go to allowances, or if it's whatever happening with that things is going to be adjusted. So that's the major, and let's say the cash collections is going to be posted in one, and then we will be saying, okay, it's coming into the bank or which bank account it is coming, because from the PMS you will not be able to know those details. So those things are handled by somebody else, not by the income audit. So they post into the contra accounts, and those who are taking care of the other transaction like AR is going to post into the AR transactions, so that the systems are matching, especially when you are using different systems, right? For PMS you're using Opera, for POS you are using Infosys, for accounting you may be using Sun, for cost control you may be using another module. So in that case the systems doesn't match up. So in accounting system you need to have contra accounts, and the reports coming from one system is going to be recorded in contra accounts first, and then will distribute to the other accounts based on the input from another system. um, I don't know if it was clear or is there any confusion regarding this.
All clear, sir. All clear.
Venki, you are not from accounting background. Did it make sense to you?
Yes, sir. But
No, no.
I
From
was
sorry.
an income audit manager.
Yeah, yeah. You are in commodity manager, so you should be very clear. And is it the process, right, that I described? You follow the same process, right?
Yes, same process. But this report of trial balance from which software it is?
IDS.
IDS. Okay, sir. One question.
Hmm.
Okay, in uh, in Opera or this the adjustment what we are doing, we are whatever adjustment we are doing for like food and beverage, we
Hmm.
are adjusting to the dinner.
Ah.
Why we cannot adjust meal period wise?
Yeah, you can. You can do that adjustment meal period wise. But in the PMS, maybe you may not be able to know for which meal period it is. So that's why usually, let's say if there is a check, you can do that, but you need to know if this rebate, when this rebate was done for this particular check, the check was coming from the breakfast or coming from lunch or coming from supper or coming from dinner, right? So if you have time for that, then yes, you can identify into your Excel sheet and you can post into the individual transactions one by one meal period. But in case you don't know, then you normally have to post into the revenue which is the highest, and usually in the hotels lunch is a very small revenue, dinner is a higher revenue, right? So that's why we post these adjustments into the dinner.
So one more thing, like the adjustments are actually manual adjustment.
Yes.
The codes are limited.
Yes.
1 minute, sir.
Hmm.
Sorry, sir. The adjustment codes are limited. If we create a adjustment codes like meal period wise, it would be a lot of adjustment codes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah,
So that's why in
but
PMS I think they post only in one allowance, right, in one adjustment code.
yes.
Hmm. Hmm. So I
What I suggest
yeah.
to recognize the revenue in a correct manner,
Hmm.
there should be like in Opera or any other system, there should be a right click button where if you select the like for example, if you select the bill or the
Hmm.
room rate, okay, if you revoke it, if you announce it, that room rate or that check should be reversed. It
Hmm.
will be according to the meal period wise also, and correct segment wise also. I have saw this system called Amadeus in Taj. So where we can do the right click on that amount and it is to be revoked accordingly or allowance accordingly.
Mm,
But in the PMS like Opera or IDS, I don't think so. We can do it.
mm. Yeah, I think because it may be the different way of how they are structured in their data tables. The problem is if you remove that from revoke, then probably they may lose the data or the report or the track of it. Maybe Amadeus is able to track the void and cancellations or adjustments separately. That's why they may be able to do that. Yeah, I mean it's a different of PMS. PMS are all different. In this case also you can see IDS also don't have many type of transaction codes, right? And the one reason is also that because these systems are based on the touch screen, many of the times they use the touch screens, right? The like PMS, POS, they are using touch screen. In the front office they may be super busy to do the right click and revoke. So and if you use multiple type of adjustment codes, the staff who is using operationally may get confused, right? That there are many codes to remember, whether I should go to the meal, lunch or dinner or something. So that's why maybe to make life easier for the front desk is they just provide only one code and then you post everything into that simple. That might be the reason why it's done like this. But income audit for sure can trace that transaction because when they are checking, they know that it's coming from lunch meal period or dinner meal period, and then they can adjust back to that particular segment or that particular meal period in the GL, right? So when you are printing the report from the GL, then you know exactly what is the revenue, what is the actual revenue for that particular segment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Saf, is it clear for you or is it look like foreign to you?
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry.
Does it make sense to you what we discuss about the recording of these trial balance into the system, into the accounting setup?
Yes, so I can relate to it. I can say vaguely I can relate to it, but I don't look at these particular reports.
Yeah, yeah. But you are able to visualize and understand how that would be done, right?
How it is flowing, yes, that is
Yeah.
very important and to understand. Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay. Yeah, that's important because of course you don't need to do the accounting, but you need to understand the flow of what it should be so that when there is a problem, it's easy to understand and easy to identify where the problem might be. That's the problem that I encounter with many of the accountants because they don't understand the flow of the transaction, so they are not able to understand the errors, source of error also. So which is very important. Okay. And then there are usually the daily revenue reports that are prepared by that are generated out of system, right? So these reports are generated out of system, but you cannot take them at face value. But in the morning, you normally don't have because the daily revenue reports are generated on a daily basis and very early in the morning you don't really have a income audit may not have a chance to look at that in details, right? But they can look only at a very basic view that okay, everything seems to be in order. Let's say occupancy seems to be in order, the average rates are seems to be in order, the number of guests are seems to be in order, the calculations are it seems to be in order. If they are seems to be in order, then they just issue out the reports, right? But if the things are not in sync, just a second, please chup raho. Yeah. So if the things are okay, then they just issue out the reports together with the other revenue reports like room segmentation, outlet summary, meal period, and other departmental reports. Otherwise they have to go and check what is wrong and then they have to fix that aspect, right? That's a daily revenue report normally is pretty easy. It does not have any accounting impact because it's not recorded into the system unless the hotel has a practice of recording revenue on a daily basis. Like in IDS, you have to record on a daily basis because you just it's automatic from the PMS is going in flowing into the accounting, flowing into the uh, um, accounting side on a daily basis. So every day, night manager reports come into the system automatically. So you just have to click and accept. That's it. Then entry is done already. Again, it's done into the individual accounts, and then from there we adjust.
So IDS is only one software like
Yes,
front office
IDS is one
and
software. Front
accounting or
office.
inventory.
That's right. So it's PMS,
Okay.
POS, and accounting is all into one. So there's no separate system for that.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Right? So the daily revenue report, the importance is the accuracy and completeness. You just have to see the system trial balance first, or the you may have some manual reports if some departments are not on the PMS or does not have a POS because they may be very small to buy a license, right? So they may be creating a manual reports. For example, maybe transportation. They may not have a PMS or a POS. They may be just writing down the reports on a daily basis into the Excel, or they send to to the income audit on a daily basis, or maybe a gift shop or a business center, small business center. So they may not have a POS to post, right? So they may send the reports on a daily basis in Excel or in manual reports to income audit for reporting into the daily revenue reports. And then after that, once they send out the daily revenue report, they normally check for allowances and rebates to adjust from the relevant revenue head. So they have to check all the allowances and rebates and put that into the revenue reports. Check the segmentation and booking source to record to recordings to ensure that they are correct in marketing. That's also done on a daily basis. And then the other F&B revenue based on they will check the captain orders. If the hotel is using automated system, then it's easier. But if hotel is using manual system, then they have to take even more time. So they cannot check each and every captain order that the captain order every captain order which is issued is translated into the average check, but they have to do a spot check, so that they are able to make sure that all the captain orders which are issued out or has been either translated into the check, or they are cancelled or they are void and there is a reason to it, right? So that's a important step for the income audit to make sure that nothing is going out, because sometimes, many times it happens that the F&B staff is issuing the captain order first to the customer to make the payment, right? And they calculate manually, and then once the guests pay in cash and they go out, they don't post into the system, means that money is not going to be reported to the company. Um, though that's why the serial numbering of the captain order is a very important thing for the hotels. Okay, so these are the reports that income audit usually have to check on a daily basis. One is the system trial balance or a night manager report that we just discussed. Um, for the purpose of control purposes. So they create the control for all the rebates are there. Then they have to go and check into individual documents of which consisted that particular rebate and check. So these system trial balance becomes the Bible, becomes their basis of everyday control. They have to collect the detailed documents based on these reports. If the detailed documents are not matching, means the documents are missing, right? Otherwise they would not, how would they know that how many rebates they need to receive? So they have to make sure that the reports are correct on a daily basis. So they need to check the revenue, allowances, all collections are posted into system. Revenue also recorded into room revenue and F&B revenue. Room revenue will have the arrival and departure reports. So these are the flow of reports, how they are going to check. So room revenue, they normally check from the guest in house or arrival reports and departure reports, whether the all the departures are checked out, there are no sleeping rooms, or they have to check the discrepancy report and rate variance report to make sure the completeness, right? You are aware of the discrepancy reports between the housekeeping and front office, means that front office have a occupancy report, and then the housekeeping also have their own occupancy report, which is coming from the actual cleaning. So that if the front office has not checked any room which is has been used, housekeeping will pick it up because they have to check, they have to clean the room, right? So then if they punch in that this room has been cleaned and the guest has not checked into that room, that means the system will create a discrepancy of that particular room into the system, and then that discrepancy has to be checked by the income audit on a daily basis to make sure that every room which is clean is also checked in. Then there are housekeeping rooms cleaned, and the rate variance reports. The rate variance report will tell us what were the rates. Is there any discounts given? Is there any ad hoc discounts given? Were the rate code chosen correct? Were the booking source or the company source chosen correct? If let's say there is a booking from Coca-Cola, maybe the by mistake the market segmentation might have been chosen as agent or public rate, right, instead of corporate. So that way when they look at the report on a daily basis, they may know if there is any wrong market segmentation being chosen on in the report in the system. So these reports are important for them to ensure the completeness and accuracy. Then they have F&B and other revenue, kept on order, KOTs, open items for to check the pricing, whether the prices are correct or not. Or if there are regular open items, then they have to request the cost controller or the F&B manager to put them into the menu if certain open items are repetitive, to ensure that there is no leakage of revenue. And then they also have to check the void checks if there are any good reasons for making them void. And finally, the split and merge check. So, especially when there is a cash settlements, if there are split checks and split merge checks, right? If there are split checks, then they also have to check whether something is voided after they split the checks, so that so the revenue is create, collected completely, right? Um, so then there is a rate variance report. The rate variance reports is an example of rate variance report. Basically, it will give you very detailed, and there is a remark for every discount percentage which is given to the anybody, or if there's any special discount, or if there's an additional adult and it's not charged, there's no supplementary charge for that, then income audit also is checking that aspect, unless there is a reason um, why the charges are not being charged. So that's a report that is ideally supposed to be reviewed by the duty manager, the night manager, or the front office manager, and pass on to income audit for re-verification that in front office manager has checked, and every discount and every not charging has a remark, and it falls in their delegation of authority. So that's the role of a revenue auditor. The income auditor is not supposed to check this report, they are just checking that it has been checked, right? Any question on rate variance report?
No, sir.
No, this is
Fine. Oh,
clear.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the room discrepancy report is looks like this. So it's a sample again. So that the room was inspected, front office. You can see there is a there is a zero from front office, but housekeeping has one. It means that it was vacant, but housekeeping status is occupied. So it means that the reason is the sleep reason, right? Sleeping reason, because the room is sleep. Then the other room has the occupancy and occupied, and for housekeeping is vacant, means it's a skipping room, right? So that's the reasons for. So there has to be a reason for room discrepancy, and it gives ideally nowadays there are very few. discrepancies found because the system, because of using a more of the systems. But in the previous time, it might be happening. Or do you still have room discrepancies happening there? Venki, do you have any remembrance of anything?
Yes, sir. We have like in most of in city hotels, like the guest comes in for a day and checkouts. Yeah, that in that point of time it happens.
Hmm.
Basically, front office is the one who makes a lot of mistake because the housekeeping goes personally and check. So, so
Yeah.
that is the one.
Okay. Yes. I mean, there has been some cases in our hotels also that the person, let's say there's a very regular guest, they come into the front desk, and because it's a VIP, the front office gives them the key, and then they don't check into the system, and after that they forget. Then the next day, housekeeping is checking, and they say, "Oh, this room is not inputted into the system. The system shows is vacant, but the room is dirty and seems to be occupied." And then they put into the system that is occupied, and then room discrepancy is created. So that kind of things are also happening in the system. But if the departments are coordinating with each other, then the discrepancy can be completed on the same day basis, rather than running as a night audit and then coming into the preview of the income auditor, right? So then, um, apart from this reports, this is again the same thing, right? Yeah. So the allowances, what allowances they are being checked. So allowances will include rebates and discounts, right? And what we are supposed to check in rebates and discount is the approval and the reasons and the timing of rebates. Now, why timing of rebates is important? Because if there is a rebate done, let's say the done very late into the system, that guest has checked out at 2:12 p.m. After that 2 hours, we are doing a rebate and then closing the folio. That means, and especially when it's a cash collection, that means it gives a reason that the sorry, I I
Hello, sir.
yeah, yeah, I'm here. I think Saif is out and he was trying to join in. And
Okay.
my screen is also stop, right?
Yes, I cannot see anything, sir.
Maybe there was a glitch or there was something just happened. Okay, now you can see, right?
It's loading.
Well, it will load. The connections are slow. Oh, my kids have closed the door. That's why. Okay. Can you see the screen now?
Yes,
No, sir.
screen is clear.
Okay. Yeah. So the and a mode of settlement, especially the cash settlements of the rebates, are supposed to be checked in deep details, because that's where many of the fraud happens. The guest has checked out, they pay cash, And then the rebate is posted, and then the staff reopens the folio and then post the rebate and then keep the amount of rebate in their pockets. That many times happens. So that's why the mode of settlement is important. How many times the settlement has been open, if there is any open settlement. If the timing of the rebate is in within before the checkout and after or after the checkout time, and the approval is important again, and if these are approved and there's a is sufficient reason. From accounting side, the rebates and allowances, rebates for wrong adjustment, wrong charges is supposed to be adjusted into the system, but the rebates for service recovery, by usually you have to record them as a separate, not adjust into the income. So means you are not supposed to adjust that to the income level. You have to keep them separate and put into the allowance line code, not adjust into the revenue. And then there are void checks. Again, you have to check the reason and get the approval, match with the KOTs, if to make sure that the food was not actually prepared for void ones. For the if the food was prepared, then there has to be a very clear reason why is void, because void, normally the void happens because of the guest refused or they don't like it. So you have to do the other way, not the void means is a wrong entry, or the guest is in a hurry and that's why they left it. Package allocations, they have to check also whether the package has been over used or underused. If underused, where the income has to go to the relevant department. If overused, whether the guest has been charged. And then the allocation, now as I explained in the usually, that the allocation is supposed to be done based on the standard rates, right? Not based on the specified amount of allocation which is fixed. But there are practical difficulties how you are going to use that, because if, let's say, a dinner, which is same dinner, is going to be allocated out of a suite or out of a superior room, since the percentage of the total dinner to the total folio is going to be different because of the rates, then the allocation for both the guests is going to be different as well. So that's the practical difficulty, which is the industry is still trying to identify. But most of the time, they just use a specific rate to allocate, right? Maybe they issue a rate code for front office for F&B. Let's say buy F&B to the front office, that if you put into the package, we're gonna charge you $8, and the standard price is $10. That's the standard internal pricing, right? So in that case, because basically you are buying from them, not really doing a package. So this way also package allocations is done. Then there are all the collections are supposed to be posted into the system. That's another job that they have. So the posted can be done by cash. So you have to make a match with the actual cash collections from the cashiers, and also the timing of posting the settlements, because sometimes it happens that the cash is collected, and then it's not posted on time, right? So you have to post the cash collections within couple of minutes. If you keep that hanging for a long time, it means that there are chances that it can be siphoned off, right? Because if, let's say, you don't post the cash transaction for 1 hour, in that 1 hour, if there is any other settlement which is maybe coming from the credit card or coming from the um, another mode, you could combine the you could do the void and combine the checks with other modes, so you can keep the cash. If you force them to post immediately, they have less flexibility to do anything with it, because the user rights in the systems are limited. So that's important to force the timing of the posting of settlements. And then these important is the spot checks. So every month there has to be one spot check of the cashiers. so that they can make sure that they are posting on a timely basis. There is no personal money and all those kind of things. And the credit card has to be reconciled with the batch and into the AR collections. City ledgers, they have to compile the signed bills with the settlement reports and send to the AR for sending out the invoices. So that has to be done on a daily basis. And the income audit is also supposed to keep an eye on the permanent folios, permanent master rooms, so that the unsettled bill are not lying there or not hanging there. Otherwise, it can happen. So there's a kind of summary report that happens for the rebate, and then usually there's a reason, there's a status, who approved it, what was the voucher number, and what was the amount, and this amount is going to back revenue or going to the allowances. So you can add the accounting code into it. So, so these are the transactions that the income audit is other transactions. Income audit is checking on a monthly basis. Batch credit card balance reconciliations, paid outs. Paid outs basically they check only the foreign exchange. They just check only the signatures are there or not, and whether the policy of the company is followed or not. Means the paid outs are not given more than the policy. There is no bigger foreign exchange. If there is a foreign exchange, the guest has signed it, and the timing of posting is match with the immediately is posted. So whenever there is an exchange, it's not posted late. That's a important aspect. They cannot check from the report. They can check that only from the spot checks. Then there are upselling reports which are there to calculate the incentives. Then there are house use report or complementary reports. Then there are staff entertainment reports which they have to check again for the reasons and approvals. Right, that's a important aspect that the income audit is checking. So this is a sample of credit card batch reconciliation. Um, you can see is by the type of card and the batch of the EDC terminal, the terminal of the machine, and then where is the how much money is posted into the PMS, right? So this one side is the terminal, another side is postings into the PMS, and the last side would be there will be one more side after this, which is the actual collection by the terminal, so that you could actually post the transaction. That's important. That's a complementary report. It's a system, it's a add-on, it's a standard report from the PMS. Most of the PMS are generating in the same format. They are no difference. Then the complementary house use report, usually you have to check the approvals. The correct room categories and amenities are assigned as per the approval form. So these are the various ways of summarizing the entertainment report. So once this is a standard and entertainment report. One way to summarize the entertainment report is by the reason. What was the reason? And you have to separate into food, alcoholic beverage, and non-alcoholic beverage, so that the cost controller can use this amount to calculate the percentage. Now the entertainment checks usually can be used in multiple outlets, right? So you have also have to do it by outlet, so that you can apply the correct percentage of that particular outlet to calculate the cost of the entertainment. Or sometimes the hotels specify that there is going to be a standard cost percent allocation based on the entertainment check. Let's say if the average is 30% for the hotel, they use 30%. Or they use, or the another way which is to calculate the cost is to add the this amount of total um, usage into the total revenue, and then calculate how much is the food cost, and then use that food cost to allocate the revenue, allocate the cost to the individual departments by the department itself. So that's the important aspect of by department. So you have various ways of allocating these entertainment reports into the for different purposes. Outlet, you can use it for cost allocation, by department for charging to the accounts, by person to give it to the GM or their department head to tell them what they have been using and how it has been used, right? So that's the thing. That's the important thing. Any question on the entertainment summaries?
No, I'm following.
It's all clear.
So the importance of the entertainment summary from income audit to the accounting is only the cost allocations to the individual departments. That's if they are done, they has to be done correctly. Then there is a daily cash collection report. So it's high important to ensure the collections of the hotel. It includes cash, credit card, city ledger settlements, and then it must match with the total, right? So the general cashier will be responsible to make that report. So that's the I have shared the example of the general cashier report in the past week as well. That's the cash count report, which is done by the um, by the by the income audit on a spot check basis, and then they will make a summary of the shortages, right? By cashier for the month and also for the by month, so that we can see if the cashier is consistently having a shortage and excess. If that's yes, then it means they need to be retrained, otherwise they are fine, right? So the other verification and spot checks other than what we have discussed includes the paid outs, for exchange, and lost and found items. So lost and found out items are also important in making sure that there is nothing happening there. So they have to go and spot check whether the records are correctly maintained, whether the physical goods are matching with the records, and there are enough records for giving out back to the hotel guest or to the hotel staff, right? Then in food and beverage, they have to do the cash spot checks. Open table test means they have to go into the system and go on the floor and see how many guests are sitting on a day, on any particular time, and then check back into the system that how many tables are open in the system. If it's match, it's fine. If not, then probably it's a problem, right? Sometimes the more tables are more open in the system means the guest has checked out, but the settlement is not done. And sometimes when the guests come, they don't open the check because either they are sitting for and they have not ordered anything. That's why they have not opened the check, opened the table, or sometimes they may delay the opening of the table into the system. That create a risk for the hotel to lose the money. And then the physical vouchers, which the outlets can issue as an official receipt. So that has to be numbered and make sure that everything which is issued is reported into the finance. Then they have to check also the cash float, also the spot check for the operation areas, for the bar and other aspects. Then after doing everything this, all the checking, these are just only management reporting, means they have to do the monthly management report, which is to be attended by the departments, and they have to discuss the surprise, cash counts, overage, repeated recording of revenue, staff meals, entertainment, and all those kind of things, which we have discussed, right? If there are any problems which are found, and for every issue that they find, usually they have to issue an income audit memo. What was the issue, why it is, what needs to be fixed, and who needs to be responsible for that, so that there is a documented way of tomorrow if you have to train somebody, and you can use that. And there is a standard of income audit meeting, which is we are just only discussing the standard points which are there in the system to record, right? So that's pretty much on the income audit.